The Pacific typically guards its sovereignty very, very closely, and particularly this year. It's been a couple of years now, a little bit more than that, since Pacific Island leaders have been able to have a face-to-face gathering, and they're particularly keen this year to try and resolve some really difficult and quite acrimonious internal rifts. So the push has been from within the Pacific Islands Forum to basically keep this meeting largely to the Pacific. They've pushed back a dialogue partners meeting, which would have seen the major players like the US and China coming in. And the messaging from inside PIF and from the Pacific has been clear. We've got to focus on ourselves for a while, at least just for this meeting. But China seems completely unmoved by that. And now what it's done, as you mentioned, is it's proposed its own meeting with Pacific Island states, with its foreign minister, Wang Yi, and their foreign ministers, on that last day of the Pacific Islands Forum, perhaps the most important day in the year for Pacific regionalism. And the symbolism of that is very clear. One, they're pretty intent still on trying to sideline PIF as a leading regional organisation. And two, Beijing remains adamant that it's going to, or rather it remains determined, to try and push forward its agenda despite some recent setbacks, whatever the Pacific's main regional institutions might want. We're aware of at least a couple of Pacific Island nations who are uneasy about this proposal. They know that it's going to cause division inside the Pacific Islands Forum, and they know that some within the forum will see this as provocative, as a deliberate attempt to sideline the peak institution and essentially set up alternative architecture with China at its very core. Now, typically, not always, but typically in the Pacific, things operate by consensus. So if you don't have consensus, things tend to fall over. And most analysts I've spoken to are predicting that's what will happen this time, that the entire proposal will fall over simply because China won't be able to get consensus. But we're still 2 and a bit weeks away from the Pacific Islands Forum Leaders Retreat, so there's lots of time for plenty of machinations. It'll be interesting to see what pressure China might place on Pacific Island leaders or foreign ministers to get this meeting up and how they respond.